Good morning and welcome to my wonderful knitting life. My name is Margaret and I am a knitter, a crocheter. I sew, I weave, and I do lots of other things that are in the craft domain. Today you find me in the area of rural Ottawa. I am a retired teacher who I am lucky enough to now be living at the family cottage. And I am enjoying a lot of the outdoor life here and a lot of knitting time. I haven't recorded for a little while because I have been extremely busy with the October Stephen West mkal, which is the reason for me doing this video today. I am going to talk about my first 3 clues that I have completed, and I am going to talk about my Interflow Shawl progress as well as the beginnings of sewing a Hinterland dress. So if you do find that you enjoy this content today, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps support the channel moving forward. All right, let's get started. So I have never done a Stephen West mystery shawl knit along before. And for those of you who don't know what this is a worldwide event with the very talented designer Stephen West. He lives in Amsterdam, although I believe originally he was from the United States. And he, for the last 15 years, has done an mkal in the month of October. The mkal is a shawl, and it is divided into 4 parts, each clue being released 1 per week through the month. And it kind of feels like the amazing race of the knitting world. There are thousands of people worldwide from all different walks of life and all different countries that participate in this knitting event. The reason why I decided to try it this year was because 2 good friends of mine are doing this. One of them has actually finished already. And the hype is huge. So I decided for the first time, why not? I'm going to give this a try. I hear that it is a masterclass of knitting. It is a lot of new techniques, but you are very much handheld through the whole process with fantastic video tutorials that Stephen West also puts out with each clue. The clues, once you have paid for the pattern, either through Ravelry or on his page, which would be West Knits, they arrive to you by email and also through your Ravelry account if you have one. So that part is really simple, getting the pattern and getting the tutorials. And the first tutorial, the first clue came to me at 4 o'clock in the morning on the first Thursday of October. And unfortunately, I probably made one of the biggest blunders with this event. I was working on the Interflow Shawl, which I will talk about later today. This is my Interflow Shawl. And it has a center motif. And I was almost finished the center motif, and I decided I really wanted to get that center done before I started on this, because I didn't want to forget exactly where I was. So I spent the first day of the mkal finishing that, and that was not a good idea. I should have been working on this. This is an all-in event. You really do have to put a lot of your other knitting aside unless you're one of these extraordinary fast knitters, because it does feel a little competitive to keep up with everybody. And one great supportive place I found was a Facebook group called the Unofficial mkal. I think that's what it's called. I will put that in the show notes below for you guys. Yeah, it's called Unofficial West Knits 15th Annual mkal, because this was apparently the 15th year for this shawl event. So in there's tons of suggestions and support. People ask questions of things that they get a little stuck on, and it's just a great place to be, to see all of the hype building up to it, color choices. So let me take a moment and talk about planning for the mkal, because this was all new to me. Stephen West, probably around the beginning of September, started talking about the Go Go Dynamo mkal, which was the name he gave this shawl, not just the 15th mkal. He gave it a cute little name called that Go Go Dynamo, and I think that it's lived up to that name for sure. And in September, he put out a little video about choosing your colors and what you were going to need. You were going to need 3.5 millimeter needles, 2 skeins of only 2 colors. So 2 100-gram skeins of one color and another 200-gram 2 skeins of your second color. And he talked about levels of contrast and using speckled yarn, and also an mohair dare. So if you wanted to, you could include some mohair in your shawl. I did that too. That was definitely something I gave a try to, but we'll talk about that a little bit when we get there. So you're kind of going blind into this. You do not know anything about what the shawl is going to look like. So picking colors is not easy. And I do tend to like purple. And I do tend to like bright colors in my knits. I like happy colors. I'm not really a neutral person. And I would definitely say that purple, if anything, is my neutral. Almost everything I knit has some little bit of purple in it. So as you can see, there's some purple in here. So I went about choosing my yarns, and I chose to use a variegated Cascade wave color as my darker color. And this is a Julie Asselin peach with green and pink speckles in it. And my mohair is right up there, and that's by Ravelution yarns. And I picked that up. I think I picked that up at the 𝐊𝐧𝐢𝐭𝐬𝐿 Fiber Festival, and it's really proven to be a perfect fit for this shawl. So those were the colors I chose. These 2 were from Stash, and that was a little tricky because I needed 2 of each. And I do tend to just have, of my special skeins, 1 of each, but those ones came through and I made my final decision, and then it was just waiting to get started with that Clue 1. So when Clue 1 was released, I quickly took a look at the video, and I will fully admit that I went right to the end and took a peek at what the end result was going to be. For me, that is just something I need to get the concept of where I'm headed. Some people will knit this completely blind and they won't look ahead, and hats off to them, because that's not something I can do. That is a real struggle. But I did, late in the evening of Clue 1, start with these semicircles. And we needed to make 3 of these. And I have to say that I was really anxious about getting started with this shawl. I was a little intimidated as to whether or not I would have the skills to manage it or keep up. But Stephen West's tutorials are absolutely fantastic. He is a really wonderful teacher, and every step of the way he holds your hand. And although I don't know that a true beginner would be able to do this, an experienced beginner just might be able. So I started Clue 1, and I made 1 modification to that and the whole shawl. I used a 3.25 millimeter circular. The reason I did that was because all of my yarns are superwash, and they do tend to stretch quite a bit when they are blocked. And I don't want a supersized shawl. I'm not a schlanket kind of girl. So I went with a smaller needle so that everything would be a little bit tighter, and when I block it, it won't stretch quite as much. So we began with making 3 of these semicircles, and they were fun. I really enjoyed that. I built my confidence, and when those were done, the next part was to attach them. And they were attached through these wedge sections. The video tutorial showed you, oh, my dogs are gonna bark, unfortunately, at the, sorry about that. My dogs saw the neighbor's dog and they got very excited. So the semicircles are joined with these wedges, and the first one I found fairly easy, with there only being one side that you're attaching to the semicircle as you knit. The middle ones I found a little more challenging, as you are constantly attaching and joining as you go down the side. So that was definitely a new technique to me. Stephen West gave the stitch count for each section, and my stitch count along the edge here was a little bit off. So I might have had one extra stitch here, one less here. But in the end, when I knit across the whole thing, it all worked out just fine. I'm gonna flip it around, make it a little bit easier to talk about as we go. So a little bit of fudging here and there, I think, is kind of the standard with these things because you're dealing with so many stitches. Cool. Oh, and I did manage to finish Clue 1 at 10 p.m. on the Wednesday night, and Clue 2 came out on the Thursday at 4 a.m. So I did keep up with Clue number 1. Clue number 2 brought in the bubble section and brioche with mohair if you chose to use the mohair, which I did. The bubble section was lots of fun and not very difficult. The brioche section had an eyelet choice. So if you didn't want to do the brioche, you could do eyelets. And I do hear that Stephen West always gives an alternative to brioche, so you don't have to be wary of doing a shawl that includes brioche unless it's one that is the focus. So I chose to do the brioche, and this is the first time I've ever done brioche, and it's the first time I ever used mohair. So it was a bit of a double-double for me. I didn't find it hard. Somebody a few months ago, I was watching a podcast, said, brioche is just a matter of yarn overs and knit two togethers. And once you sort of think of it that way and wrap your head around not thinking that this brioche is like the forbidden knitting exclusive item, you'll be just fine. There were a couple of times where maybe I didn't catch a stitch quite right, but I didn't find it that hard to fix because of the two colors. Two-color brioche definitely is easier because you can see the color differences. So clue number 2, I finished a day late. So clue number 3 had come out and I was just finishing clue number 2. So I was pretty proud of myself for keeping up that far. But then clue number 3 came into play, and that is these little triangle sections. So the triangle sections started at one end, and they were a bit of a battle to get started on. I didn't memorize this until I got to about the 8th, somewhere between the 8th and the 10th triangle. I was able to put down the pattern and just go for it. So it was really hard work to get going with this. I was worried about my stitch count. That was a little bit of a struggle. But each of these purple sections right here involved using 3 of my live stitches from clue 2. And my peach involved using 18 of the live stitches from clue 2. So when I got to the halfway point, I put stitch markers in to make sure that I was going to end up with the right amount of stitches when I was finished. And that worked out just fine. I liked doing them, but it was a bit arduous to do 39. And yeah. So what I ended up doing, I really just kind of slowed it down. I had so many other things I was trying to get done in the month of October that really took priority. We have a wood stove as our secondary source of heat, so I've been doing a lot of log splitting. preparing for the possibility of power outages. And we just really enjoy having the wood stove on in the evening. It's a really nice heat, especially if you're just sitting and knitting. It's really beautiful. And there was also the leaf blowing that I was doing, and having a property that's about an acre large with a lot of trees that lose their leaves. I was looking at leaves being, higher than my knees, and there's a lot of ticks in those leaves once they come down, and we have the dogs. So I really had to get them off the driveway and off the grass areas and blow them into the woods. So that was kind of causing me stress when I was trying to get through clue 3. I think there was a point at which I just put it down for a day and needed a break. But then when I picked it up again, I would do a triangle at breakfast. And then I would do another 2 sort of while I was munching on lunch. And then in the evening, I do 3 or 4 more. And then all of a sudden, I was done. So I think I got this finished 3 or 4 days after, or maybe a little more, after Clue 4 was released. And Clue 4, surprisingly, comes back to this center where we made the semicircles and the wedges, and it fills in the semicircle. So this shawl ends up being 1/2 of a circle. So that is Clue 4, but there's also an optional wavy border here to make the shawl a lot larger if you want to. I'm definitely going to do Clue 4 in the center to finish it off, but I'm not entirely sure about the wavy border. I'm definitely going to be looking at blocking this first, and I'm going to see how much it grows and if I really want it bigger. I have heard that a few people are stopping at Clue 3, and they are going to use this as a scarf shawl, which I think is very beautiful if that's the point at which you feel the need to be done with this. But it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy that I decided to join in. And I would say that there's a lot of pros in doing a shawl with Stephen West. There's so much camaraderie with the group of people that are involved in doing this. There's the tutorial support. You learn a lot when you complete one of these, and it pushes you to try things that you may have never done before. The only cons I can come up with are the fact that October is really busy for me, and it was a struggle to work on this as well as get everything else done. And I also had construction going on in my kitchen at the same time as I was working on this. I had the pantry ripped out and redone. And we also had a bit of a wall taken out above the fridge so that we could put like a shelf above the fridge because we're pretty short of storage space here. This was a 3-season cabin originally when my parents bought it, and they had it winterized. There's no basement, there's no attic, and we don't have a garage. So we've been trying to do what we can to make more space, but I had somebody doing that while I was trying to knit this. So maybe next October, I will be a little more prepared as to not have quite as much on the go. And the other con, if you want to call it that, is that I really had to put a lot of my other knitting projects aside and focus on this. Maybe if I wasn't so competitive, I would just knit it at my own speed. But I believe that that's probably one of my problems, is that I do tend to be competitive. And when I see everybody else, zooming forward, I want to stay at the front of the pack. And that's just something I need to work on. So overall, I'm really enjoying this, and I can't wait to start Clue 4. So let me talk about my other 2 major things that I've got going. So this is the Interflow Shawl, and I discovered this on the Knit Picks website. I fell in love with it, and I bought the colors that they had on there, and the green is called Kiwi. The purple, I can't remember what it's called. But I did put that in my last video, and I'll try to add that to the show notes below when I write them up. So I finished the center and I put this aside when I picked up the Mystery Stephen West mkal, because I knew that I only had these wings to finish up, and that would be easy to come back to later on. But what happened was something that was a little unexpected. A week ago Friday, a relative of mine had to go to the hospital for a bit of an urgent situation. And I ended up being in there waiting with her for about 10 hours. And I grabbed this when I knew that I was heading to the hospital to meet her there, not the big shawl, because that would just be too much in an emergency room. But I knew that this basic knitting would be a great thing to work on while I was there. So over the course of those 10 hours, I pretty much knit this whole section right here of the purple wing. And then I didn't realize this actually with this pattern, there's a little bit of a decorative addition into this wing that matches part of the mosaic pattern that's going on in the center. And I talked a lot about this in my last podcast, but this is a mosaic shawl. It would probably be a good pattern for someone who is an advanced beginner. It's not true color work, but it sure looks fantastic when you've got it going. And I would suggest high contrast between the two colors. There's quite a few examples on Ravelry of this pattern, so you can take a look at the different colors that people have used there. But for me, I think the most stunning ones are the ones with the high contrast. And mine's definitely high contrast. You may say it's even a little bit Halloween, but I absolutely love these colors and I will wear it any time of year. And I also have a pair of boots that match this, which maybe when I'm finished, I will show you. So the purple wing has this little decorative item to bring in the pattern to the shawl as the whole, but the green side does not. And as you can see, I've been using this as a little bit of a palette cleanser between clue 3 and clue 4 of the mkal, because I just needed a little bit of relaxing knitting. And I'm almost finished, and I'm really excited to finish this. I've contemplated maybe putting a little crochet edging along the edge. I'm not sure yet. I'll see what it looks like when it's blocked out. But so far, I'm super, super happy with this. I would be tempted to knit this again. The other thing I'm thinking would be kind of cute is a tassel coming off of the center and the two ends. I have not put a tassel on a shawl in recent history, so that might be something that would be a cute addition to this one. So that's the Interflow Shawl. And again, you can find that on Ravelry, and you can also find that on the Knit Picks website. They have the pattern there that you can purchase along with the Stroll Effects yarn, which is what I used for this. And it's a beautiful yarn. Really, really love it. Great price point. So my next thing I wanted to talk about today is the Hinterland dress by So Liberated. So Liberated is a company that has a few really cute outfits to sew on their site. And you can purchase this pattern as a PDF. And what that essentially involves is you downloading it and then printing out all of the parts on 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. And I printed it all out, and I wasn't really sure where to go from there. I've always used patterns where you get the little envelope with the tissue paper that's printed, and then you are just cutting out your size. So this was a bit of a mystery to me. And I don't know, I just felt kind of overwhelmed by it. So a friend of mine decided to do one as well. So we collaborated one afternoon this past week, and she showed me how to put all of this together. and I have put the bodice together. So basically what happens is you have all of these pieces, and they will be labeled with like 1A or 2B, and you line up your papers and stick them together based on those little diamonds. And then you're able to cut out your pattern pieces from that. So I've cut out the front bodice of all of these. And I mean, it is kind of funny. I've got them taped together with painter's tape because that's all we had at the moment when we were working on this. But that's fine. It's all good. It's working great. My fabric is a flannel. I'm going to use this flannel that I bought from a store called So Inspired. It was on sale, and it really caught my attention because I had seen one done that was similar to this on the So Inspired website, and I thought that would be a really wonderful cozy dress for winter. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do, if I'm going to do the one with the placket on the front. But one thing that's really come to light is how wonderful that this is going to go together. So you can kind of see how the colors that I pick repeat themselves in the same color family. But I'm really excited that this is a great match. And the next phase for me will be cutting out my pieces and then working on putting it together. I'm making a size that's a little bit larger than I normally would do because you can always size down when you're sewing, but sizing up is virtually impossible. And I did wash this in warm water and I put it in the dryer because flannel shrinks at about 10% is what I was told when I was in the store. So I've already prepared my fabric for that eventuality, and hopefully everything will work really well. Another good reason to maybe size up a little bit to start with and just see how it goes. So that's in the works. I'm really excited. It's a really well-known pattern, and if you look it up, you'll see so many different variations. So much you can do with this. There's no sleeves, cap sleeves, 3/4 sleeves. I want to do the 3/4 sleeve version. So that's in the works. I probably want to get my Clue 4 done first. Get that off the needles. In the department of acquisitions, I made a little trip through Carleton Place on my way home from the town of Perth, where I met my friend from high school for lunch. And they have a store there called the Real Wool Shop. And this store isn't just a store. They are the receiver of almost all fiber in Canada. And I believe they grade it and then send it out to mills. So I was really fascinated to go and see this place. And it was really, really big. It's also a clothing store, but they have a huge section of yarn and fiber. They also have equestrian products and animal feed, and like it just went on and on and on. The place, I couldn't get enough of it. But they had fiber, and I've kind of become addicted to fiber now that I have a drop spindle. I am still looking into getting some kind of an e-spinner, but I'm kind of torn between an e-spinner, and I think it's called the Ashford Kiwi 3, which is a spinning reel that you can fold and, put under a bed when you're not using it. Anyway, I picked up this fiber. This is 1 pound of fiber, which I believe is 453 grams. So this is enough to make a sweater if I was to spin it fine enough. And the price point was absolutely fantastic. This is 100% natural wool. And it is a roving, and it says it's a CWM, and I'm not entirely sure what that means. I think it's just a mix. So if any of you know what a CWM means when it comes to fiber, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. But again, it's one of the colors that I really like. It's a beautiful plum. And the lady at the store said, when you open this, be ready to use it because you'll never get it back in the bag. It's really packed in there, quite tight. So that'll be my next project of spinning after I finish with my beautiful orange and yellow, which I have up here. And I've been working on that regularly. I'll pull it out and do a few meters and then put it aside. And it's kind of just one of those things when I have 5 or 10 minutes, I'm waiting for something, I just do that. The other acquisition that I have, I'll show you this one first. I'm pretty sure I showed this before. So sometimes I do a purchase from Mary Maxim. They're an online store for me because I'm not near the store. It's in Southern Ontario. And they often have little deals where if you spend so much, they will give you a free tote bag. So I got this one, I don't know how long ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I think. It's got lots of pockets on the inside and it's lined. There's their little tag. And I've been using this for my mkal bag. So that's, and it's quilted. It's really, really nice. They recently had another offer, and it wasn't that I was looking to buy anything. For myself, I picked up a few things for Christmas presents because we do have a bit of a crafty family. And while I was there, I noticed that they had another deal going on for another project bag. So I was lucky enough to get this one and I love it. It's paisley, which is amazing. And it's a beautiful color as well. So this one at the moment has had my Hinterland dress stuff in it. So we'll see what I use that for in the future. But I don't know if that's a thing for you, if you really like these tote bags, but it's worth checking out if you're in Canada because it's a nice little bonus. All right, life news. So I won't go on too long because these videos living in the country are hard to upload. It's very, very slow going. I think I already talked a little bit about the renos that we've had going on, the pantry, the extra shelf, and we've also had lots of outdoor maintenance to do. But we have enjoyed some fantastic fall days. It has been gorgeous, and this has been the first year I've been back in this area in 12 years because I was teaching on the Magdalen Islands, and then I moved to Sept-Îles, Quebec, which is 8 hours north of Quebec City, so quite far away. So I've just really been enjoying being present for the seasonal change. And we did have some incredible days in October, and I managed to get out for 2 of them kayaking. So I'll try to put a couple of pictures in here so you can see those as well. I really enjoy sports. I'm not just a knitter. I kayak, I downhill ski, cross-country ski, I bike ride, hike, lots of other things I'm sure that I'm not mentioning, but I really do love the outdoors. Sometimes the outdoors doesn't love me. I'm getting older and I have a birthday in November. So that's coming up and, kind of reminds you a little bit of being very grateful for your health. But I have made a little change, and that is taking turmeric. It was the contractor that was here who is 65, and he noticed me, having trouble, getting up from getting something that was on the floor. And he said, I take turmeric, and it's made a huge difference in my life. So I started taking turmeric, which is just like in a capsule. It's just a spice, really, but there's an element in that is an anti-inflammatory. And it takes about 4 to 8 weeks to really take effect. And I'm in week 4, and I do think it's helping quite a bit. So I'm gonna keep going on that path because I do want to stay as active as possible. That's important to me. And feeling good when I wake up and not stiff is a real bonus. So that is also new in my life. I just finished reading a book called The Frozen River on audiobook. I wanted to mention it here because I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. It's about a midwife in, I think it's 1785. And it's about her life and her family, but it also includes a real life event that happens in a town that she has to go to court for and be witness to on another woman's behalf. And I really love historical fiction. If you have any suggestions, please note them in the comments for me, because I knit and I listen to books all the time, and I'm always looking for new suggestions. I read a lot of, now of course I'm going to forget all of the names, Christian Hannah, Kate Quinn, those are a couple of my favorites of late. But anybody else in that genre, I'd love to hear what you like to read and what you've really enjoyed. So I'm going to leave it here for today, and hopefully I'll have this up in a few days. And once again, if you've enjoyed this content today, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm going to insert a video of a beautiful sunset. It's about 20 seconds long at the end of the video for you to enjoy. We get the most beautiful sunsets over the water here, and this one was spectacular. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're happy with your knitting, and everybody take care, and I should be back in about a month's time. I'll have casted on a birthday knit, so I'm looking forward to talk about that. All right, take care everybody. Bye-bye.